I've cut out my first tile to fit round the drain where it's at the centre of the pattern that I've worked out the floor tiles need to be in. And I take a measurement from the edge of that tile to that wall, and then I've translated that measurement to both ends, down that end of the room and up here. And I've shot the laser beam down those marks that I've measured, which means that that laser beam, which you may or may not be able to see on me, is parallel to that wall. As far as the patterning of the tiles go and being parallel to the wall, this wall isn't as critical as that one, because the bath will be in front of it and the vanity at that end. Over there, that wall will have the vanity right across it. So the main row of tiles that you'll see, whether it's parallel to the wall or not, is this open side, which will go from the back of the bath and right across the shower. So that's the most critical row of tiles, and that's the one I'm getting dead parallel to the walls. The other ones will be fairly close if my room is square from how I've made it. So this is my starting point. I'll lay a couple of rows of tiles here, and then I'll do the same thing across this way and get some central rows of tiles and let those set up and come back the next day and work off them.
Too many valleys, not enough mountains. Too many drains and not enough fountains. Cynicism's dark abysm, it swallows all the light that passes by. And I will choose a path of lightness, even when I'm blinded, sightless. 'Cause I'd rather be adrift at sea than the safety of a jail with no key. Oh.
As you can see, I've got most of the floor tiled in my bathroom. I'm just waiting on getting a new diamond hole saw and a couple of finishing strips. So I thought I'd make a start on the wall tiles. And so we move straight back into, once again, the argument as to whether you should lay your floor tiles or your wall tiles first. Now, the people who advocate that you should lay your wall tiles first, their concern is that with the ups and downs in your floor levels to get your tiles to drain properly in a bathroom, if you lay your floor tiles and then you put your wall tiles on top of them, you'll copy that uneven floor level and your rows of tiles won't be straight. But in Australia at least, you cannot lay your wall tiles before your floor tiles, because to meet Australian Building Code regulations, the bottom row of wall tiles has to be laid over the top of the wall tiles, so when the water comes down the tiles, it drains onto the top of the floor tiles, rather than going behind them. I'm going to use a method I've seen professional tilers use, who laid the floor tiles first, and then when they started on the wall tiles, they didn't lay the lowest row of tiles. Instead, what they did was they put a batten along the wall, one tile height up off the wall. This gives them their straight edge. You lay out that top row and you go up, and then the next day when all of that glue's hard, you take your batten away and you put your bottom row back in. So I've got the large wall tiles that I'm going to use, and I put a 6mm piece of packing tile on the bottom, and I went right round the room marking where the high and the low points were. And then finding the highest point, I used the laser to shoot a beam right round the room, and then I got my level and I marked a pencil line all the way around the room, and I actually found the level more accurate than the laser level. And I went right around the room, putting that pencil line, which is the highest point that the tiles need to be able to be laid in. Bearing in mind that you've got to leave below this where you lay your tile, you've got to leave room for your spacer, which in my case is 1.5mm, and then between the tile, the wall tile and the floor tile, there needs to be about 4 or 5mm so that you can put a bead of Celastic around the bottom to seal it properly. So that's why I used a 6mm spacer underneath the tile to get the height. Then after I had that pencil line right around the room, I started putting the battens in, screwing them to the wall studs so they're very secure. They're just temporary battens. And the top of that batten is well above where that tile needs to be. So I've actually arranged the height of that string line so that when I put my bottom row of wall tiles in, I don't think I'll even have to cut any of them. I think the differences in the level of the wall tiles between that and the bottom of the floor tiles, that uneven gap, I think I'll just be able to take it up with Celastic waterproofing filler. The only issue that putting battens on your wall to hold your what is effectively your second row of tiles to be able to go up on the wall is that you don't want to puncture your waterproof membrane in your shower. So when I come to put battens here, I can get screws or a clamp down the end away from the waterproofing, and where in my case the fiberglassing is as well as the waterproofing, I don't want to put screws through that, so I'll just put strips up from the bottom and brace them diagonally to hold it without screwing it into the wall. You lay the tiles by just placing them on your batten, and in my case we're going floor to ceiling in here, so I'll lay this row and I'll go right the way up. I'll leave this set for a couple of days, come back, take the batten off, and then pop in the lower tile. If your wall tiles are a different size to your floor tiles, matching the patterns of the two, the edges of them, is not critical because they're going to get out. But if your situation is the same as mine, where your floor tiles are the exact same size as your wall tiles, then the rows need to line up. So to make sure my wall tiles line up exactly with my floor tiles, I went to the middle of each wall and put the spirit level up against the bottom edge of the tile and put a line up the wall. Having these pencil marks means when I take the batten away and I'm laying the bottom row of tiles down to the floor, both tiles will line up exactly. And when I lay these top tiles against these pencil marks, I'll start in the middle of the wall and just go out either side. So here's a first row of wall tiles laid on the batten that I prepared earlier. I laid these yesterday, and I found it a lot easier to lay these, even though they've got the rectified edge, so they've got to be perfectly abutted to one another. I found these tiles easier to lay than the floor tiles because your wall surfaces should be pretty well dead flat. You haven't got slopes for drains and things like that. These floor wedges, which are the most commonly ones stocked in your hardware store and most readily available online, I found a pain in the butt and I ended up not using them. The spacer T-piece, which is also used to hold the wedge for levelling, has these curves on it. You can see them there, they're quite pronounced, and you've got to push that down with the wedge. And I found these small wedges combined with the tension of that upturned edge, I found it one thing working against the other, and I ended up not using them on the floor, so I knew I wasn't going to use these on the walls. And then a good mate of mine who just finished putting in rectified tiles on his floors got me onto these wedges. You can see how much wider and how much higher they are than these little yellow ones. Much bigger wedge, much more purchase. And the other thing is, compare the levelling system. You'll notice that on this big one, you've got that huge hole, but it's flat on the bottom, not up curved. So when you put that big wedge into that spacer, it's not fighting itself. I tried these on the wall yesterday, they're absolutely brilliant. So if you're going to use levelling wedges, avoid these tiny little ones and the spacers with the upturned edges and go for these babies. Where I will be able to use these small wedges is when I'm putting in the last row of wall tiles. I'll be able to cut them and get them to size so that they push up the bottom row of wall tiles up nice and snug to the row that I've laid on the batten. A couple of things that I've learnt that make applying these wall tiles a little bit easier. Mix your tile adhesive in a round bucket, but don't try and get it out, because if you try and get it out with a trowel like that, you can't pull it out that way, so you end up turning it as you pull it out and half your adhesive slips off. What I found works much better is to use a rectangular container like this, mix them up in the round one, pour it in the rectangular one, and then you can load up your trowel and get exactly the amount of mud that you want on it and go straight onto the job. It just makes life that bit easier. The second thing I've learnt to do with wall tiles, particularly these large ones, is instead of putting the adhesive on the back of them on the floor like you have to do basically with the floor tiles, I'm doing it up on a table. This is much faster and it stops me bending over, so it saves my back. You can see how that rectangular bucket and troweling on the table is both neat and fast.
It's easy to be helpless. You'll never fall with 2 feet on the ground. If you don't wish for anything, when you get nothing, you won't feel let down. But I will choose to not enough mountains. Too many drains and not enough fountains. Too many valleys, not